Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video we're going to practice a bit of making some phone-friendly navigation menus, and then I'm going to send you off to enhance and make some on your own. Now, my first thought was I was going to use this as a participation activity. We would just all work together and make kind of the same thing. But I think for participation for this week, I will probably end up having you just do a little bit of online research and find some examples of nice, simple, good-looking navigation menus and take some screenshots and share them with us and stuff like that. So that way I can kind of confirm that we're getting a feel for what's out there, and hopefully you're seeing that nav menus for phones and mobile devices don't have to be that complicated. And it's not like there's 40 different styles. There's probably, half a dozen different styles at best, and that'll get us going. So I think instead this will be part of the homework assignment. So we'll do part of the homework assignment together, and you'll do the other half on your own and stuff like that. So I haven't done this yet myself. I'm just kind of working up ideas as we go. So let's see how this works. And basically I do have a page started, so you're obviously going to need to do the same thing. Go and get yourself a web page going. I already have a CSS file attached. Nothing on it, just a reset rule and the body. I just wanted to make sure everything was working in that regard. And sure enough, there we go. Now, in order for this to be kind of neat, here's what I am intending. So on the body of the page, I'm going to create my div container. And this is going to be my main container. I'm going to put a pin in that for a moment. That's ID container. I'm going to jump over to my CSS. Hashtag container, and I've already got an image that I think I want to use here. But first let me go and do this. I'll set the width of this container to be 1000 pixels, and the height will be, 800 pixels, and I'm going to slap a little border on there, 4 pixels solid, and we'll just do like a bluish gray. Little border radius just for kicks, 4 pixels. So I should be able to see that border on there. Great, looks good. Margin 20 pixels top and bottom, auto left and right to get that centered in the space. Come on, just gotta wait for it to refresh. Doing my auto save, of course. There we go. All right, here's the real trick, and if this looks good, I'm gonna make this image. I'll provide this image to you, of course, so that way we're all using it. But let's see how this works for me. Background image URL. Let's see, I'm on my CSS style, so /images / phone frames. Okay, I'm going to give this a try. Cool, I think this is going to work out. So I do need a little bit more room to work with, though, but I don't want to use a percentage. I'm going to use a fixed size on here. I'm going to try 1400, a height of 1000. Okay, I don't want to go quite that big. Let's go to 900. Let's make sure my zoom is, yep, I'm at 100%. All right, I think this is going to work for me. Now, I don't want this image to repeat. No repeat Thursdays. Cool, cool, cool. All right, and I'll set a background color on this. Of white to go along with that background image. Yeah, I think that's going to work fine. Let me go ahead and do this. Background repeat. Let's also throw in a background position and just try a center. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I want. I think this is going to work out well. This has no real functional value. It's just going to be cutesy. But my plan is for us to make 3 different example navigation menus for this half of your assignment. And we'll use these little wireframe phone frames as just kind of a cutesy visual aid for what we're doing. So yeah, I think that's going to be good. Now what we're going to end up doing to make this really work, and obviously you can pause this video and work ahead of me once you get a feel for what's going on, because I also need to pause it and then go do some research, get a feel for what kind of nav menus we want to create here. But I think this is going to work out well. So we're going to end up with some containers in here, which will be the pretend phone containers. And obviously we'll have 3 of them, and we'll use some nice positioning to lock them into place, and we'll hide them, and then we'll have each of those. So basically we're kind of like making 3 web pages all on one web page, and this is all going to be part of your portfolio. So this will be a demonstration of your abilities with mobile friendly nav menus. And yeah, so we'll position some rectangles in each of these. We'll size them appropriately, position them well, and those will be like the page boundaries of a website. And each of them is going to have a navigation menu. They're probably all going to have some kind of a menu icon or hamburger icon to indicate that there's a mobile menu available. And then on tap or click, we can activate it. Now, just to kind of rig them all at once, probably in another video. This will probably easily be 2 or 3 part video, I'm sure, maybe 4, who knows. I think on the very last one, we're going to do a little bit of JavaScript, and I might want us to rig a single button that we can click up here that'll activate all 3 mobile friendly phones at once, okay, as opposed to doing individual ones. And then I'll have you do the same kind of thing for your homework assignment, but on individuals, just so I can show you the basic technique, but then you also have an opportunity to apply that technique in a slightly different way. That's where the real experimentation and fun takes place, is when you see something happen and then you do the same thing, but you put your own little twist on it. And that's what I want you to do. Cool, but I'm feeling pretty good about this, and we got those frames on there. So that means we can start getting to work. And since we're using fixed sizes and stuff, that should make our lives a little bit easier visually when we put those together. So definitely in the assignment directions, I'll make sure that I provide this image for you. I just did a search for it and found a sample online. So yeah, so let's go ahead and do a little bit more setup before I pause this video. And yeah, so let's see, jump back over to the old code editor onto the HTML side of things. So we're going to do all of our work, obviously, in this container. Give ourselves room to play around. And here's how I kind of envision this. So let's see, nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned div. This is going to be ID equals phone frame 1. Great. Just going to style those phone frames, and I'll have number 2 and number 3, so I can at least give you an indication of what we're going for here. Okay, so let me jump over to the CSS. I'm going to start off by styling all 3 of them equally. And so that we can see them, border 2 pixels solid red. That's going to be pretty much a short-term thing, I think. So that's good. Now I'm going to need to give each of them their own width and their height, since each of those phone frames are different sizes, but for now I'll do it right here. I'll say width of 300 pixels and a height of 700 pixels. That's going to be way too big, but we're going to be positioning based on those top corners. Speaking of which, let's make sure the container is position relative, and then each of these can be position absolute. And then later on, I'm going to have rules for each of them, which gets really specific on that positioning. So we'll take care of that in just a little bit. So let's save. Perfect. So now I can see where those things are right up over there. Let me go ahead and position this first one. So I'll jump right down here. Phone frame 1. Now I don't need to do position again because I've already got position absolute exactly where I need it. So phone frame 1. When I first start positioning, I never know where things are supposed to be, so I always start with top 0. And I'll do top 0 pixels and left 0 pixels so we can see it. And it is where it is. That's what it defaults to. So let's start to play around with some of those numbers. What if I go something like 40 pixels from the top and 50 pixels from the left? Again, I'm guessing, and I'm looking, I can see it moving there a little bit. So let me try 60 pixels from the top and 70 pixels from the left. It's getting a little closer. I'm looking at the top left corner of that, and I think I'm pretty satisfied. I'm getting just about there. Let's try 65 and 75. I'm going to move it down a little further. So 70 and 70. Yeah, let's go down just a wee. Yeah, because you know we can't style into that little notch anyway. So let's just keep knocking it down here a little bit. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. And then of course, since this one is going to be custom, then we're going to have to play around with the width. Is obviously going to be wider than that. Let's try a good old like 410 pixels. And it needs to be a little bit taller, it looks like. How about a height of 800 pixels? And I want this red rectangle to fill up the space. So the height's a little bit exaggerated, so 770. The width is just a wee bit much. 380, let's dial that back in. 370. Oh, that looks good. That's pretty good right there. And I'll just go a bit taller, 775. Make sure that saves, browser refresh. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. You can always fine tune it more if you wish to get it right up next to that black line, and I probably will off screen. But that's kind of the intention. So I'm going to leave that border on there for the short term, or maybe it'll be on there for quite a while, and I'll take it off sometime near the end. But that is the intention. So each of these phone frames is going to be sized and positioned into that appropriate phone space. Now, let's not get too thrown off by my pixels and things like that. Just because I'm saying, wow, a width of 370 pixels, that doesn't seem very big at all for a phone. We might normally do 400. Don't even have my phone on me now. My phone's in the other room, but I'm looking at this on my desktop, and visually they don't seem that crazy. You know, obviously this looks like a large phone to me, you know, in physical dimensions, you know, if I put my hand right in front of it. So I'm not too worried about those sizes. So we're just going to use those sizes to constrain ourselves with these pictures, these phone frames. We're not actually doing media queries on this particular version, so we don't have to worry too much about the real sizes and stuff. But I think that's going to be good. And because we are using fixed sizes, and our background is fixed, it doesn't matter if our browsers are smaller or larger, our phone cases basically should stay the same. Yeah, I think this is going to be fun. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this part of the video right here, and what I'm going to do off screen, which I'd like you to continue doing as well, is go ahead and size and position those other phone frames so that they are on top of where they need to be. And of course by then we won't need to have the width and the height set up here. Leave the position absolute, and then we can just position each phone frame individually and get those exactly where we want them to be. And while I do that, I'm also going to do a little research just on a few different phone mobile-friendly navigation menus, just to kind of get some ideas for what we can do. And then we will work on these three together. That'll be a big portion of your homework assignment, and then the other portion is you're going to do some on your own. Cool. All right, so have fun, and I'll catch up with you in the next video.